Have you ever been sitting outside, completely still, when a bird landed a little closer than you expected? It didn't sing, it didn't fly away, it just watched you. And for a moment, it felt like something was being decided, something quiet, something important. Most people don't notice these moments, but if you've ever felt the weight of a small, wild gaze, you might have wondered, what just happened? What was that bird really doing? Welcome to Wild Perception. Here we explore the subtle, often overlooked languages of the natural world, the pauses, the glances, the tiny decisions that shape the bond between humans and wildlife. Today, we're going to walk through 9 strange, almost invisible ways that birds test whether they can trust you. Some of these you may have seen without realizing what they meant. Others might feel like secrets whispered just beneath the surface of everyday life. The first thing to understand is that birds don't trust easily. Trust for them is not emotional in the way we think of it. It's survival. A miscalculation can cost them everything, so their tests are quiet, layered, and deeply intentional. They happen in the small spaces between a glance and a breath, and once you start seeing them, the world begins to feel a little more connected. One of the earliest tests is something I call the Stillness Question. You might walk into a garden or pause near a window, and a bird nearby suddenly freezes. It doesn't fly, it just stops, mid-hop, mid-peck, mid-breath. To the untrained eye, it looks like fear, but it's more than that. That moment of stillness is the bird running a calculation. It's asking, are you a threat? Will you move suddenly? Are you aware of me? In that single suspended second, it's reading your posture, your speed, your attention. If you stay calm and look away gently, you might see its feathers slowly relax. The test isn't over, but you've just passed the first part. Then there's the head tilt. You've probably seen it. A robin on the grass, a crow on a fence, turning its head sharply to the side so one eye points directly at you. It looks curious, almost playful, but this is a bird deliberately shifting to monocular vision, getting a clearer, more detailed view of your face. With one eye fixed on you, it's studying the micro-expressions we don't even know we're making. It's looking for patterns. Do your eyes dart? Does your jaw tense? Are your hands clenched? To a bird, your face is a map of intention. The head tilt is a trust test that asks, who are you when you think no one is reading you? If you pass that, you might encounter the Approach-Withdrawal Dance. This one can feel like a conversation. A small bird, a sparrow, a chickadee, hops a few steps toward you, then suddenly flits back, then a little closer, then back again. It's not indecision, it's the bird testing your predictability. Every time you don't lunge, every time you keep your breathing steady, you're answering a silent question. Can I come closer? The dance is the bird building a mental profile of your reliability. It's a slow negotiation between curiosity and caution, and it can take days, weeks, even seasons before the bird decides to close the gap completely. A stranger test happens through alarm calls. You might be walking through a park when a blackbird lets out a sharp, repetitive call from a bush. Other birds go quiet or vanish. But here's what you may not realize. They're watching how you react. If you ignore the call and keep moving calmly, some birds will interpret that as a sign you're not hunting. If you slow down, search for the caller, or move toward the sound, you might be flagged as a potential predator. The alarm call isn't just a warning to other birds, it's a deliberate probe of your intentions. The birds are asking, do you understand this language? And your response tells them everything. One of the most overlooked tests involves the eyes, specifically the duration of eye contact. In many bird species, especially corvids like crows and magpies, a direct stare can be a challenge, but a soft, brief meeting of the eyes followed by a slow look away can signal something entirely different. Birds sometimes engage in what researchers call attentional checkbacks. They glance at you, look away, then glance back. They're measuring your gaze pattern. If you hold a hard stare too long, you're a threat. If you acknowledge them gently and then release your focus, you're showing awareness without aggression. It's a delicate ritual. And if you've ever shared a long, quiet moment with a wild bird, eyes meeting and releasing like a slow tide, you might have felt the faint outline of trust being formed in that space.
A more visible but rarely understood test is the food drop. Sometimes a bird will pick up a seed, a twig, or a small shiny object and then deliberately drop it a short distance from you. It's not an accident, it's an offering test. In avian behavior, gift-giving can be a way to probe reciprocity. The bird wants to see what you do with something it values. Do you take it? Do you ignore it? Do you move toward it too eagerly? If you stay where you are, acknowledge the gesture without grabbing, and maybe even leave a small, harmless offering of your own, a bit of water a safe distance away, the bird remembers. This small exchange can lay the foundation for an unlikely friendship, one built on mutual respect rather than dependence. Then we come to something more intimate, the slow blink. You may know this from cats, but some birds do it too, particularly parrots, pigeons, and even jays. A slow, deliberate closing of the eyes in your presence means the bird feels safe enough to momentarily shut down its primary defense. But here's the test. They might be watching to see if you respond in kind. If you slow blink back, you're speaking a primitive language of peace. You're saying, I'm not watching you as prey, I'm here with you, not against you. It's a quiet exchange that transcends species. And when it happens for the first time, it can feel like the world just grew a little softer around the edges. Perhaps the most profound test is one you may never see, the proximity choice. A bird that could land anywhere chooses a branch, a ledge, or a patch of ground close to you. Not because there's food, not because it's trapped, but because it has assessed the space around you and deemed it safe. This isn't random. Birds constantly evaluate micro-habitats of calm. A human sitting still, reading, working, or simply breathing with no sudden movements becomes a kind of sanctuary, a temporary bubble of predictability in an unpredictable world. The bird is testing whether you can be a neutral part of its environment. If you pass this test repeatedly, the bird may begin to incorporate you into its daily route. You become a landmark, a constant, and that, in itself, is a quiet form of acceptance.
Finally, there is the test that carries the most emotional weight, the bringing of young. In spring and early summer, you might notice a parent bird leaving its fledglings closer than usual to where you sit. The adult will chatter softly, the babies will totter and peep, and the whole family will linger nearby as if you're being introduced. This is the ultimate evaluation. The parent is assessing whether you pose a threat to the most precious thing in its life. If the adult feels even a flicker of danger, it will hustle the young away in an instant. But if they stay, if they forage, preen, even doze while you're in view, then you have been given something rare. It means the bird has gathered enough evidence across many small tests to conclude that you are not part of the world's danger. You are part of its landscape of safety. What ties all these behaviors together is memory. Birds remember faces. Crows can recall individual humans for years, even passing that knowledge to their offspring. Smaller songbirds recognize the people who refill feeders or simply sit on a familiar bench, and they don't just remember actions, they remember presence, the feeling of being near you. So every test you pass becomes a note in a long, quiet file the bird keeps. Trust is cumulative. It's built in the gaps between your movements, in the rhythm of your breathing, in the consistency of your calm. Maybe this is why these moments feel so personal, because they are. A wild bird isn't supposed to trust a human. Evolution has spent millions of years teaching them the opposite. So when one chooses to lower its guard in your presence, even a little, it's not just instinct, it's a decision. A small, brave, entirely voluntary step across a very old divide. And you don't have to do anything dramatic to earn it. You just have to be still enough, patient enough, present enough to let the test unfold.
In a world that often rewards noise and speed, there's something quietly radical about earning the trust of something that can fly away at any moment. It reminds us that connection doesn't always need words. Sometimes it comes in the tilt of a head, the drop of a twig, the slow closure of an eye. Sometimes it grows in the space between a wild heartbeat and a human one, until they beat just a little closer. Maybe the next time you're outside and a bird lingers nearby, you'll recognize what's happening. Maybe you'll feel the questions it's asking without sound. And maybe you'll answer, not with words, but with the way you choose to be still. I'd like to leave you with a quiet question. Have you ever experienced a moment where a wild bird seemed to be asking something of you, not with fear, but with a kind of gentle inquiry? If you have, feel free to share that story in the comments. These small moments matter. They remind us that perception, trust, and connection are not ours alone. They belong to the wild as well. And the wild is always watching, always feeling, always choosing who to let in. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, keep your perception wild.